Albany.
And I really appreciate my friend's speech, and I appreciate her, who knows fully well that I live in New Channel territory and I represent the Taloquit people here in Parliament, Madam Speaker, and I bring their voice here. And I'm grateful that she talked about Chantel Moore, the late Chantel Moore. And the fact of the matter is that there was an independent investigating officer team that came in from Quebec with no Indigenous representation to her death when she was shot by police. Lisa Marie Young, still missing for 20 years, a Taloquit member in Nanaimo, Madam Speaker. Now, in the National Action Plan, let's say this quote, creating a national task force to review and reinvestigate unresolved files of missing murdered Indigenous women, Two-Spirit, LGBTQ+, QQIA+ people, Madam Speaker, is actually a commitment in the National Action Plan, but there's no timeline, no money. They haven't acted on it. Can my colleague speak about the importance of an action plan, not just for these two unresolved files, but for the women that were just stolen through this genocide that's taking place in this country, Madam Speaker, from Winnipeg?
Member for Sandwich Gulf Islands.
I thank my honourable colleague from Courtenay-Alberni, and indeed I do know that both of us know family members. We know Chantel's mom and her family and her friends, and we know that this is not being properly investigated, as is the case for many, many more Indigenous women and girls. Sometimes we know who the killer was, but it is brushed over because it was a police officer. Sometimes we don't know, and we can only conclude from the lack of attention to it. I mean, I don't want to criticize policing in Manitoba. It was in the span of a year that we now believe that 4 women were murdered by the same man. We don't know for sure, but we can make educated guesses that had those 4 murders of young women been white women, we might have seen more warnings, more action to take on the bits of clues and evidence that suggested the same man had committed all the crimes.